Alright, so I guess we're not really a book club, but we're gonna say it's a book club. I don't believe in book clubs because I don't really like being forced to read stuff I don't like to read. But I had just finished reading the oldest sibling sister, the oldest sister of the Dugard family, and I was at the library and I heard God say Dugard, and I was like, I went to the shelf, and I was like, I already read that book, so like, what else is there for me to read? And then I saw the book right. I'm gonna scoot up. I'm gonna go far. Um, I was like, what else is there to read if I already read that one? I was like, that'd be weird. And then I looked right next to it, and there was a book. It was also by Dugard, and it was by Jaycee Dugard, right? So I got the book, I checked it out, and I gotta say, I think I read the book in like 2 days. But the first day, all I could do was just cry the whole time. After I read like midway through, all I did was just cry. And I thought it was honestly one of the best books I've ever read. And it's an autobiography, but also during this time, I was able to get some Christian novels as well. That I was able to get C.S. Lewis' book, The Screw Tape Letters, and I was able to get Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. And I was super excited because I've always wanted those books, but I never thought that I could be able to purchase those, honestly. But they were at a reasonable price, and I was able to get them, so I was super excited. So I felt like I got to read her book, I got to purchase those 2 books, and then this past week I purchased the Bible, and I was excited. But I wanted to talk about some of the things that were in her book that really stuck with me and struck me with my own personal story. Because, and her story is that she was kidnapped from at age 11, and then she was rescued 18 years later. So she was 11, and then 18 years later she was 29 when she was rescued, and she had two children from the experience. But I realized that a lot of the stuff that she went through, I also felt like I went through. And I felt like reading her story helped me to be able to be myself more. And it helped me to be comfortable with talking about the stuff that I went through and being honest about it, as well as not internalizing basically every aspect of your life, because I also do that because of what I experienced. But here's I'm going to talk about some of the quotes in the book and why it really helped me and why I felt so just excited to just hear somebody talk about this stuff, Anyway, so this is a quote from the book. I felt I could no longer be trusted to make sound decisions. I felt that because I had made the decision and it turned out to be the wrong choice, that all my future choices would be no good too. That it was better that I went despite some advice, that it could be dangerous because it was a public place, because if I had not gone and heeded the advice I was given, I would have never truly known if I was safe or not to go, and would have resented the advice. So it was better to have made the decision I did and learn from it. Also, not all choices are black and white. We all have the right to make up our own minds about stuff, but it's better when you have all the facts and go in with the informed decision. So, she previously mentioned and mentions throughout the book that the man that adopted her and his wife, because they both did it together. But she mentions that she had a hard time making decisions, and when you come from an environment where everyone makes choices for you, you know, they don't care about what color you like, they just want you to be happy about what they did for you, even if it's not what you actually enjoy. And I have talked about that on the channel, but like, I also had a lot of decision paralysis, especially when I was like, had like a fragmented, dissociated mind, that I just couldn't make decisions, and I was scared to make them because I felt like if I made one, it would be the wrong choice and I would get like ragged on for it, or I just couldn't handle the fact that I could be wrong. Because it's like every time I made a decision at home, I just was always told how stupid I was, or how like it's always the wrong decision, you need to trust me to make decisions, you know? And when she said that, it made me feel really like, it caused me to feel really seen, because, you know, all choices aren't black and white, but it's also like, just because you made the mistakes in the past doesn't mean that you'll keep making the same mistakes, and you won't constantly be like, you're not a bad person because you made a mistake, and you're not a person that doesn't have wisdom just because you make mistakes. Because yeah, there are mistakes that you need to make so that you can develop and grow and just be appreciative. Because, you know, if I, you know, worked at certain places, or if I, like for example, I worked at 2 bars, I got fired from both bars because one, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I can't smoke, I'm pretty like whatever about drinking, but like because of that, I understood that like that's not my environment, people don't enjoy me being in that environment, and it's just not a healthy place for me. But I never would have known that if I didn't try, and I have never worked for a bar since then. But I chose to do those things, and I learned that it's just not right for me. Also, I know that I worked food service for years. I am now at the point where I do not want to do food service. We could talk about food service. I'll work around food, but I'm not cooking in a public place again, like a restaurant again. I do not like it. But I never would have known that if you know I didn't get sick, or I didn't have food poisoning like 5 times. I would have not known that, because of decisions, because of choices, because of environments. And I think it's also great that she says that it's good to know the facts, have all the facts, and have an informed decision. Because I think when you are used to these type of people, and you're used to those type of environments where they're toxic and people want to bombard you with choice and decision, and they don't really care if you have the informed decision, they just want to pressure you into stuff. I think it is good to wait more often and just have an informed decision, even if the people are like, because you thought so long about it, I don't want to do it anymore. Okay, well, if you don't want to let me have an informed decision, then I don't need to be a part of it. Because I remember I got a job interview, and the guy was like, yeah, you could start training, and it was like at 6 in the morning, and it was I don't even think it was a bakery. I think it was like, no, they were an event setup place. He didn't tell me where it was until the day of. He didn't tell me who I was meeting. He didn't tell me like who all would be there, but he expected me to be there at 5 in the morning and to potentially go with other people to an event. And then when I asked him questions, he was like, oh, So you have questions? Why would you have questions? You don't trust me? You don't think that I can tell you what to do and that you should know who's supposed to be there? And I'm like, sir, I've never met you. I don't know who you are. I've never worked at this business, and it also is in a plaza with several other people. I'm like, I'm gonna not go because this sounds like a kidnapping operation, and you're not gonna get me. And the fact that you're offended that I'm asking questions is a red flag. I don't know if you guys know, but Georgia seems to have like a large trafficking thing. Like it's like apparently kind of, I don't know if you want to say popular because it's popular everywhere. I mean, I was trafficked in Florida, so I don't really know. But if you go to the bathroom in Georgia, on the back of the door, it says, "Are you doing stuff that you don't want to be doing? Are people forcing you to do this?" Yeah, if I see that on the door, I'm gonna think that, yeah, this is a problem here. So, yeah, a problem here. I'm not gonna show up to your job at 5 in the morning and I don't know my meeting. Absolutely not. Anyway, I might put this in a couple videos. I don't think I want to make a giant video about this. I don't know how long it's gonna take. Probably not that long. I don't know. Alright, we'll do another one. Alright, so in the book, she says it's July 5th. It's 2004. And this was one of her diary entries when she was still like living with these, when she was still kidnapped by these people, right? She said, I don't want to burden him with what I'm feeling. Why should I even care if I hurt him? He has hurt me. I just can't do it back. I can't be like them. So I remember when I was younger, like even when I went to high school, I would be hungry, but I didn't feel like I could talk to them about being hungry when I was in high school, and then I needed lunch money because I went to a school that they didn't have like lunch. You have to either get lunch or you have to pay lunch, and because they had like a chef or whatever, her food was awful. But we're gonna not talk about that. But to me it was awful. But I needed lunch money. I had just lost my job because I was going to a school where you could work or you could go to school full time. So I worked and I just lost my job and I didn't have any money. And I wanted lunch, but I didn't feel comfortable asking for money, and I didn't want to burden them, as she's saying, and telling them that I needed to eat. And it's like, they treat you like a burden, or at least for me, I was treated like a burden. I can't say how she felt because I'm not her, but I was treated like a burden. But it's like it twists over to where it's like they tell you about all their problems, and then you start feeling bad for them, and then you feel like a burden once you hear all their issues, because you have compassion and you have a heart and you have grace, and they don't. So it's like when you need help, you can't go to them because you feel like the burden. And to me, that's what this sounded like. I don't know what that means. I hope y'all can hear me. And then she said, why should I even care? He's hurt me. And again, I felt that too. Like, why should I care about how these people are treating me? If they beat me, they don't feed me, they're assaulting me. And then it's just like, you want to be mean back, but you can't be mean because then you would be exactly like those people. And I think that's something that stuck with me a long time, because it's like, I was livid. I hated living with my parents. I hated living with my siblings, but specifically, I couldn't stand my parents. And it's like, there was times I was cruel. I won't lie about that. Like even the book, she said that she would do stuff to get on their nerves, but she would like do it in stride, like in a sneaky way, and I did too. Like I knew, for example, that my dad would get mad if I said I'll be like, what you doing? And he'd be like, what are you saying? And I'm like, why are you so mad? I'm like, I'm just asking what you doing. And I like irritating him. Cause it's like, you guys talk to me all day about all y'all problems. You don't respect me. So I just thought it was funny. Or like, we would watch a movie and somebody would, I don't know, they would like get blown up. Like, I mean, like obliterated. And I'd be like, you think he died? And I would do that all the time. And I thought it was hilarious because he'd be like, yes, Stephanie, he died. So, I mean, it was funny to me. But I couldn't do it all the time because, you know, sometimes they're temperamental. So I couldn't do that all the time. But when I could, I took that chance. And she did too, which I appreciated reading about because I like that. We're gonna come back.